Hi, my friends, it's me. I'm back. Welcome to the Bookish floor where we talk about books, and today we're gonna talk about my July books and what I've been doing for the last few weeks. So, if you guys didn't notice, or perhaps you did, I have been taking sort of a break. I wasn't planning on taking a break, but I decided after not really wanting to film and not really wanting to do anything to just take a vacation and just do precisely that, nothing, and just take a little bit of a break. I would love to tell you that I scheduled a break, I decided to schedule a vacation and do a lot of stuff, but really that wasn't the case. In May and June, I think I already talked about this in my last video, but May and June were really tough when it came to my migraines. You guys know, for the ones that have been here for a while, I pretty much have been having migraines for the last 4 years non-stop, and I have been going to different doctors and have had different types of whether it's blood work or CT scans or different types of things being done to see where they came from, and nothing has shown up, which is good, but also frustrating because we don't know where the migraines were coming from. And finally, May and June were really tough. We figured that it was allergies. They were the root cause of my migraines, and they were able to be controlled a little bit with allergy medicine, but they were not going away. And May and June were pretty hard months where they pretty much had migraines every week. So that was rare for me because I usually had like 2 migraine flare-ups during the month, so like every 15 days. So I finally went to like a neurologist in July, and based on all the information I gave them, or like my labs and my CT scans and everything that I've been through, and the history and all that, and everything, finally, like the diagnosis and all of that, is that I am someone who is chronically ill, and that I am someone who suffers with migraines, and I am probably gonna be someone who suffers with migraines forever. It's just something that I have now, and I am gonna have to take medication to prevent migraines. So I'm on that treatment now. I've had it for about a month. Turns out that if you guys know, I had a treatment beforehand, but that treatment, the dosage was pretty low, because we were figuring out if it was something like that, but because the treatment was pretty low, it didn't really work out. Now I'm on a higher dosage, so it seems that it's finally kicking in. Finally this week I was able to see the effects of it, and because I started taking it in July, some of the side effects is that like lack of interest and things like that, while my body's kind of getting used to it. So different things that have been going on. Also, May and June were pretty heavy months when it comes to different types of things that were going on. Just to not make the story super long and super boring, July was finally the month that I was able to like rest my mind. Also was on this medication, my body was getting used to it. So really I just needed to like disconnect from everything, let my body and my mind especially rest. And I just didn't force myself to film or do anything that I didn't want to do. And that's why I didn't film anything. I didn't upload any videos, but I continued to read, although I didn't make any progress, or not a big progress or a big dent on my yearly goal. I was able to read 6 books a month, which is kind of like a low average that I'm able to make on a regular, like, yearly or monthly read. I wanted to read at least 10 books a month this year. I haven't been able to do that, and obviously July I was not able to do that, but I was able to participate on Summerween, which is one of my favorites, and I was able to do at least 6 books last month. So that is what I'm here to talk to you guys about, the 6 books that I read during the month of July. And yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and talk to you guys about that. Sorry about the noise. They're doing some fixing on the doors, the neighbors, and it's very noisy. And I also have the fan because it's incredibly hot, and you know, it's still summer here. The very, very hot summer months, or the very hot months here, is August, September, and October. I know everybody's already on like fall mindset, which is something that drives me nuts, because it's more to do with like marketing and less to do with actual seasons. But that's a conversation for another video. But here it's still incredibly hot. It's just getting hot. Like I said, August, September, and October are the hottest months. So, and I'm in Baja, if you guys know or remember, or know, I'm in Baja California. I'm just at the border with San Diego. So yeah, those are our hottest months. So anyway, sorry for all the noise if you can hear all that. So let's go ahead and talk about the books I read. I have them right here. So the first book that I read, and it was a 5-star. I've been having also kind of a hard year when it comes to reading. Mostly I've been averaging like 3 stars per book. I used to think, oh, 3 stars means that it's a good book. And I don't know if it's me this year, or a lot of people that I follow have been saying the same things, like this is not a good reading year. I think it's honestly everything that is been going on around the world. People, or we are all just feeling so drained that even the things that we're reading, they feel like not as joyous, and we can't really enjoy things as we want to or should, because of everything else that is going on. And also that's part of things that affect us physically and mentally and all that. So I think that we are not finding, or it's harder for us to find joy in things. So when we do find something that we love, we want to hold on to it. And yeah, it's been harder to find those things that we love, but I was able to find that this month with Hungerstone, which is a retelling of Carmilla. And I have heard that this one feels even a bit better than Carmilla. Haven't read Carmilla yet. So I actually gave it 4 stars, but I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. So this is one of those books that I am gonna bump it up to 5 stars. There is a part in the middle of the book that I know kind of slows down, and that's why I gave it 4 stars. But I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. So for I might leave the 4 stars in my review, but for my personal preference, it is one of those books that I am gonna think about it, and it's gonna become one of my favorites. So for me, as personal preference, it is definitely a 5 star. It is gonna be definitely one of my favorite reads of the year. Objectively, I think it is more of a 4 stars for others to read, but it's still a great book. So this is the story of a woman who is in a marriage, who seems to be doing everything right, but her marriage seems to be a little stagnant. This is an 18th century woman. It feels a little bit like she's stuck, like she has been playing a role. And it feels like the husband kind of gaslights her a lot. It feels very reminiscent of I think it's The Woman with the Yellow Wallpaper. It's the name of the book. I can't remember. Or The Woman in the Yellow Wallpaper. It feels very like that. And obviously it's a gothic story. There's vampirism in it. So you have that going for it. You have Carmilla, or this strange woman who comes and visits them, and that is where the vampirism kind of comes into play. I don't want to give a lot of a lot of spoilers, but yeah, it's the typical story of the woman who feels stuck in a place where she doesn't have really other options. Again, 18th century woman doesn't have a lot of options, and perhaps there's this creature who might give her a way out of it. So I really liked it. Those gothic elements that are there, then maybe give her a way out. So if you want to go ahead and read that one, I would definitely recommend it. Then I read Pride and Premeditation, and this has not been my year for Jane Austen retellings. I really had high hopes for this one because it is sort of like a murder mystery, and I really like those. It's a murder mystery with like a fun twist, or not like a fun twist, like one of those more cozy murder mysteries, more like Agatha Christie type stories, more like Clue, more, this feels more like a game, more PG, but this is pretty much its own story, and they just wanted, it feels like clickbait. It feels like they made it into the Pride and Prejudice world to sell us a story. It would have been better if it was just its own story with its own. It would have been better if it was just its own story. It didn't need all the Pride and Prejudice characters. It feels very out of characters for all of them. They are completely, if you change all the names, it would be a completely different story. It makes no sense with who we know these characters to be, and it feels like a lot of the retellings are like that. They kind of just take whatever story they want, but they want it to sell, so they just put the names of the characters, and they kind of force it to fit in some ways, because it has nothing to do with them. They have completely different professions. They live in a completely different world. Like, it is not Pride and Prejudice. So it takes the whole essence of the original characters away. I give it 3 stars because, like I said, if it was called something else and all the characters had different names, it would be an interesting story. But that thing, what makes it a bad story is the fact that they're trying to convince us that this is Darcy, this is Mr. Collins, this is Jane, this is all of the characters that we know and love, because they're not there. They are not there. So that it's annoying. The next book that I read was The Spell Shop, and that one took a long time. I read it with a lot of pauses. I didn't give it a rating because I didn't think it was fair. I was having a really hard time that week. I was having a really hard time sleeping. I had to take, I read it in so many episodes that it was hard for me to follow, and I got very distracted. It was a very, like I said, very hard time for me during migraine episodes, with my medication, with all that, especially during migraine episodes where I have to take medication for my migraine, plus the medication that I was taking already, the treatment that I have to take now and forever. So yeah, it's really hard. So I didn't give it a rating because I don't think it's fair. I'm probably gonna end up rereading it at some point, but I was able to read it. It is cozy fantasy. There is a romance there. I did feel like it was a little discombobulated. Like, there's a lot of characters, there's a lot of things going on. It wasn't my fave. I don't think I would give it more than a 3 stars, even on a good day. But I decided not to rate it just because of that. It's magic. It's very cozy fantasy, magical people, magical place, magical shops, magical characters, all that you would come to love about cozy fantasies and adventure has to take place, a romance, and there's gonna be kind of leaves a cliffhanger, so you know there's another book coming. So yeah, that one. Like I said, it took me about maybe like a week, and it was like super chopped up. So the way I read it. So yeah, I didn't read it, but I would recommend it if you really really like cozy fantasy and very bookshop and bondas, things like that, house moving castle. And what I mean, I don't mean that the story goes like that. I just mean that fun characters, like whimsical vibes, all that. That's what I mean. And then I read that Bewitching, which I really like. That's from Silvia Moreno Garcia. I kind of took a break from reading for a while. I think I just needed to like not listen or read or anything and just take a break. And then I waited for Silvia Moreno Garcia's new book, which is The Bewitching. And this is about a girl who is doing like her master's degree, and she's doing her dissertation on a girl who was, or a woman who was a writer, and she wrote about the occult, and she wrote about the disappearance of this other woman who was a friend of hers in the same school in the 1930s. This girl is from the 1990s, and she goes to this school in the northeast of the United States, like the Boston area, like Massachusetts area, all that, not the Boston, Massachusetts area, like Cape Cod, all that. And in the 1930s, a woman disappeared in that area, and some people think it's like magical, something has to do with magic, the occult, all that. And this girl, this friend of hers becomes a writer, and she writes about the occult, and she writes novels and all other stuff. And she wrote about this girl who also disappeared, and this other girl 60 years later in the 90s is making her dissertation about this girl, this woman who's a writer, but she's really interested in the story from the 1930s. But also this girl from the 90s, her grandmother in Mexico used to tell her stories about her hacienda and her life in her pueblo, and how she had to fight witches, or a witch back in the day. So you're listening to the abuela story as it's as the book goes on, what happened to the grandma, what's happening to the girl in the 90s, and what's happening to the girl in the 1930s. And you're kind of going through these three mysteries because something starts to happen to this girl in the 90s. So there's three women dealing with witches in these three timelines. So it's very interesting. And there's three storylines and three mysteries that you kind of have to go through. So it is very interesting. They kind of intersect, but not really, kind of, sort of, maybe. But yeah. Oh, and actually, I forgot to also mention that for Summerween, I read Hungerstone, Pride and Premeditation, The Spell Shop, and then the fourth book that I read for Summerween was I Who Have Never Known Men, and that one I also gave 5 stars. That is a sci-fi book about women who, the story starts when these women who have been in captivity, one day there's an alarm going off. They're sort of like in a bunker, and one day there's an alarm that goes off. They're about to get lunch or something, because they've been in this like cell all of their lives, and the person who's about to go into the cell to give them their food leave the keys there because there's an alarm going off. So they go off, they leave the keys there, and when one of them is brave enough to open the cell, they realize that they have been completely abandoned. They go out and see that wherever they are, whether it's a planet, another state, another country, another planet, like they really don't know, has been completely abandoned. They are the only ones there. um, they don't know what's going on, so they decide to venture on. The youngest person there, she doesn't remember anything. All of her life, she's pretty much been there, and she's just really started to discover, I guess, kind of her womanhood. She has to be a teenager, or she has just kind of turned into sort of a teenager. We're guessing that she's probably maybe like 12 years old, and she kind of takes the reins of and becomes sort of a leader, because all of the other women kind of have a little bit of a baggage. There's different things that people have interpreted from this book. I really thought it was more of a instead of telling us like what has men done to them, because you don't really see the men only in the beginning, like, and they are people kind of keeping them incarcerated, and then they disappear when that alarm goes off. It's really about womanhood and what women do when they have to be with each other, how they can survive with each other, how they form community, how they can thrive, survive with each other, how they can help each other, how they can hinder each other if that is what they want. But also this particular woman who hasn't had any experience with men or any experience with the world that everyone else has lived in, she can create her own world and her own experience of the world, of the universe, is only what she is living in that particular moment. So it's really what she will create from there on out. So it's really interesting. So I think that you can reread this book so many different times, depending on the stage you're in life, depending also on your life choices, is how you're gonna interpret this book. Depending on the things that you have lived through is how you're gonna interpret this book. I think this book is so interesting because that is the thing. It has so many interpretations based on your background, and I know that is for every book, but for this one I think in particular is the way it's set up. It's so interesting, and there's so many ways that you can apply or interpret whatever it is that you are reading on a page, that I found it so interesting. So yeah, I would recommend it to anyone and everyone, and I definitely will give the credit to Emily Fox. I've been following Emily Fox for years now, ever since I discovered Book Talk, and she was the first person I heard talking about this book. She is definitely the first person that has been really hyping this book up for years and years and years, and other people are not giving her the credit, so I will give her the credit. Emily Fox is the first person that I've ever heard talking about this book. So anyways, those are the books that I read in July. Yeah, in July. I will be uploading a little bit more frequent now that I'm a little bit more stable. And think I'm also gonna do another video talking a bit more on how I'm changed a little bit of my TBR. As you guys know, I am a diverse reader, and that has not changed. However, because of the state of the world and the state of my mind, and I think everybody's going through something similar, I did have to make some choices and life changes where I do have to put I have to make some hard choices about what I'm consuming, because those things tend to stick in my mind for a long time, and it does affect me. So I do have to make conscious choices about the things that I consume, unfortunately, or fortunately, but they do tend to have a bigger toll on me, which I didn't understand before. Now I do, and I have to be very specific about what I consume, and I am not able to consume as much as I would like about things that are important. So I do have to like wing it out a little bit, spread it out a little bit among my reads. So you're gonna see a little bit more, perhaps fantasy, more recreational reading. However, I am not leaving my diverse reading behind me. I'm still gonna do that, and I'm still over on my Instagram. If you guys don't follow me over on my Instagram, I repost, reshare a lot of other content from other people who are constantly sharing those, because I think it is important for me to share other people's posts also, and recommendations and all that. I am still gonna be consuming all of that, but not as much as I used to, because physically, mentally, it is actually harming me. And I'll do another video about that. But anyways, that is it for now. Thank you so much for joining me. Remember that right there on the description box you have all the ways that you can support my channel. I really do appreciate it. Remember to like and subscribe if you wanna do so, and remember to put in the comments what books did you read during July, if you participate in Summerween. And if you don't know what to put down there in the comments, simply put maybe like a little sunshine, because we're still in summer and the heat is still going pretty much here. So that, I guess that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to keep reading and keep blooming, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.